What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the wrestling channel, and today we're here to talk about John Cena. I think it was very obvious what we're going to be talking about. We're going to kind of briefly touch on the weekend there. I've not watched Heatwave yet. I did watch Money in the Bank. It was fine. But the main thing coming out of this is the news that next year, 2025, will be the last year that John Cena is an active, performing professional wrestler and will retire from active professional wrestling in the year 2025. Before we get into that though, let's talk about Money in the Bank. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on the show. I don't think quality wise it was the best. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the Punk McIntyre stuff, having McIntyre win Money in the Bank for him to try and cash in for Punk to cost him it again. And I get the argument that it doesn't do anything for anyone. The Punk feud was already red hot. It didn't need this. It wastes Money in the Bank. It doesn't put it on anyone. But realistically, out of everyone they had in that match, no one... Gable worked, but also Gable's just lost every big match he's had this year. Gable's 0 for 5 when challenging for the Intercontinental Championship this year, and I understand giving him that and having him carry it for a long time kind of makes sense, but I would have been the biggest fan of it. No one on SmackDown is going to win Money in the Bank because no one on SmackDown is going to believably take that off of Cody Rhodes. And then when you don't have like a Finn or an Ilya Dragunov in that match, it just doesn't really make sense. So I think with that, it's kind of the best of a bad situation. Similarly, I don't hate Sami Zayn beating Braun Breaker, but I also don't think Sami Zayn should have had the Intercontinental Championship to wrestle Braun Breaker. So once again, that's a sort of... I think the outcome of that is good, but the booking leading to that shouldn't have let that be the best outcome, if that makes sense. Like I say, I think Balor should have been in the Money in the Bank and Balor should have won it, and Balor should have cost Gunther and turned on Priest at SummerSlam. And I think Chad Gable should be the Intercontinental Champion right now. I think those things feel very obvious, and I'm not sure why they weren't done. Money in the Bank was fine. The women's match was really good. I think if Chelsea Green wasn't to win it, Tiffany Stratton should have won it, and I'm very happy that one of them did win it. And the Bloodline match was fine. Jacob Fatu looks amazing, because Jacob Fatu is amazing. Tongaloa botched a low blow, but also a brother was concussed. You see him standing behind Solo after the match, and there's nothing going on behind those eyes, and you saw him backstage after, like, he's not there. I think Money in the Bank was fine. By all accounts, Heatwave was absolutely incredible, and it ends on that Joe Hendry tease, which I'm very excited to see what that does. Javon Evans, Jay Malachi looked like a star from what I'm seeing. Looks like maybe getting a sort of, maybe a heel trick against one of the biggest up and coming babyfaces in the company, and Javon Evans going forward. I'm very excited about that, but that's not what we're here today to talk about. No, today we're here to talk about the one and only John Cena finally hanging up the jorts and retiring. So if you didn't see, Cena came out to the ring, grabbed the mic and let us know that 2025 will be it. The Royal Rumble in 2025 will be his last Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber will be his last Elimination Chamber. And WrestleMania 41 in Vegas will be his last WrestleMania. And I thought that meant he would retire at Mania, but he later clarified that he's doing a full year. He's cleared his Hollywood schedule and he's doing the entire year of 2025 and then calling it quits. Now, personally, it's Cena. I think he should I've always thought he should retire at WrestleMania, but this makes sense, you know. The first Raw of the year is the Netflix era, which all of this money is being pushed toward and all the focus is being pushed towards. And I think the new Netflix era of WWE is going to be a complete tonal shift, and it's going to be like a real new fresh start properly. I think by then we'll like see the Bloodline story that has, you know, for better or worse, been the only story for a lot of the time. That'll finish. We won't need to go on in this sort of the head of the table, the Bloodline, and the end feud and the end fight, and the fact that it takes up the main event scene on a show to the point that you can't see anything else happening, anyone winning any matches, because they clearly have a bigger plan in mind for where the Bloodline goes and how that ends. And I think the Netflix era will really mark a new beginning for the company storytelling wise, and I think having the main story of the first year in the Netflix era of WWE being John Cena's retirement tour is a great way to get more eyes on the product. And let's be honest, the numbers are going to go through the roof regardless because it's on Netflix. There was always going to be eyes on the product, but this is them saying, if we're going to have these eyes on the product, we don't want them to be watching a subpar product. We want all of these new eyes and all the new homes that WWE is going into to have something good to watch and be invested in, and use this to sort of elevate new stars and bring people up. I think it's good. I think it's a very, very good idea. I think giving Cena the full calendar year to just come out and do it is brilliant. I think it puts a timer on his career. It tells people that you need to start watching again here, and you'll maybe stop watching at this point, but you know when he'll be back. You know when, roughly, how long you're going to be watching this story unfold for. And it's him calling a shot. It's him saying, I've got 1 year left in me, and I want to do this to the best of my ability. Now, the details are still emerging. You just have what he said at the press conference, but what he said at the press conference was 30 to 40 live dates, which probably means most Raws and most pay-per-views, most PLEs, and I think that's perfect. I think, truthfully, I really do believe the first Raw on Netflix should open with John Cena and CM Punk, little promo to start the show, and then the show should end with them in the main event. I don't see any other possible thing to do for the first Raw on Netflix. I think as well, giving us the full year means that it can be a greatest hits tour without sort of sacrificing quality. If we were getting maybe 6 months, you want to do Punk, you want to do Orton, you want to do Rollins, you maybe want to give him another shot at Reigns, even though they had the No Mercy match in 2017 and then they wrestled when we got crowds back. You maybe want to give him another go at Reigns, just another, even if it's just a one-off match on like a TV or a B show. I think giving him the whole year means we can do all those, but then at the same time, you can give him a Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown. You can give him, a Trick Williams. You can give him an Ilya Dragunov. You can give him, like, who else? You can give him maybe Logan Paul. You can take all these people that, if we're given the time and Cena was staying around for longer, we could sort of build to these over multiple years, but we don't have that luxury. So I think with him sort of working a full-ish time schedule, and I feel like for him to have committed to this year, that means he'll have cleared his Hollywood schedule for the entire year. So realistically, outside of maybe a few like press appearances for things he's filming currently or has filmed, I have a feeling he's going to go above and beyond that 30-40 date range, purely because he'll be back and he'll be doing this non-stop. And I think we're going to see him wrestle more than we think. I think we're going to see him wrestle on a lot of TV, and I think he'll be on most, if not all, pay-per-views. Seeing Cena go though is insane, because like for as long as I've been watching wrestling, he has been one of, realistically, the main character of professional wrestling for as long as I've been watching. I started watching in 2006, so I've been watching wrestling for 18 years. He already had the spinner by this point. I've watched him wrestle, I just missed the JBL. This was pretty much where I came in. So I've seen him wrestle Triple H and Shawn and Umaga and The Miz and Punk and Orton and Mysterio and Rollins and Reigns and Edge and everyone. Rusev and Sami Zayn and Del Rio and Jericho and just all of these names. Just basically like a history of WWE. For as long as I've been watching, I've watched Cena face off against all of them. He's one of the reasons I got so into wrestling at the very beginning, and he's one of the reasons I'm still so into wrestling now, and he's one of the people that I love watching no matter what he does. I think he truly understands the comedy of who he is, and he's proven that with his recent run in Hollywood. Instead of going, I need to be a big tough action man, he's like, I'm just going to do silly things and have a laugh. But the love for WWE has always been there, and he's always, always, always made sure that you don't forget that's who he is first and foremost. And it was never not going to be this. It was never going to be like Dwayne being like, well, Black Adam failed. Can I have a match, please, guys? It was always going to be, I will clear my schedule and I will give everything I have to this last run to make sure I go out as one of the best ever, which, I mean, he was always going to do regardless, to make sure that I help the company, to make sure that I elevate the product and the talent, and to make sure that I ultimately leave the company in a better place for my departure. And I think that's what we're going to see. Cena's one of the most selfless people in wrestling, and you hear that every time that you hear people speak about working with him. I think Baron Corbin, when they worked in 2017, Cena apparently said to him basically, like, apparently they don't get it, I see it, so what do you want to do for these matches? He was like, I know we're not being given a lot of time, and I know that basically at the end of this story I'm going to make you look like a chump, so what do you want to do? Because I see the vision and I can see where you can go, so let me know what you want to do. And Corbin just said one thing. He was like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, I just have one request: don't kick out my finish and I won't kick out yours. And he was like, yep, cool, done. And you just hear that, and you hear the story of how the Firefly Funhouse came together, and how apparently he only gave Bray Wyatt one note, and that was, we don't have a crowd. If we just do a normal wrestling match, that kind of means we won't stand out. But let me know what you want to do. You hear this, and you hear how complimentary he is of everything, and you hear how when he's asked about AEW, he doesn't take needless shots for the sake of taking needless shots. He is always so complimentary of wrestling and where it is, and everything that it is and can and should be. And it's just insane that this ever-present figure in John Cena will finally no longer be pulling the jorts on, doing his little salute and running to the ring as the sun is going down outside, and it just got really dark all of a sudden here in the flat. I don't know if that's coming across in the video, but we've been recording for 13 minutes, so we're just going to wrap this up. It's big news that Cena's going. As I said, he's been one of the figures in professional wrestling that have just been ever present throughout my entire journey as a pro wrestling fan. And it's going to be weird knowing that at the end of next year he won't be back. I mean, Punk says he's going to try and drag out retirement in 15 years for one last match. But I think this is exactly how I want to see Cena go out. I want to see him go out as a full-time guy. I think back to his run about 10 years ago with the US title, and then his run on SmackDown Live when he was there most weeks. And you think about some of the matches that he's had recently, he's still got it, he still can go. But I don't believe he would have committed to a year if he couldn't deliver consistently good to excellent product on the mic, in the ring, bell to bell, storylines, everything. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I have thoughts for who he should wrestle, what he should do. You know, we're going to get 17. I have thoughts on how we get to 17, but we'll talk about that tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm doing my first ever Q&A on the channel. If you have any questions, reply to my tweet on the Twitter machine, Jake Part 2, I have to remember what it was there, or reply to my story on Instagram at jake.talks, or just leave them in the comments of this video here, and I will be doing a Q&A tomorrow where we'll talk more about Cena and we'll talk about everything. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and I hope that you will be there right with me watching Cena's last year as a pro wrestler.